Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Antill with Foundation Software. Joining me this afternoon is Paul Wheaton, the Vice President of Sales from McCormick Systems, one of our software companies, part of our family here at Foundation Software. And today we're going to talk about going remote, forecasting construction's technology's role post-COVID-19. What we did is we recently did this presentation down in Nashville at NECA, and it was a big hit. We had over 100 folks in the audience for that, so we figured we would go ahead and just reuse it and change a few things up. So I apologize, we got the NECA trademark on here, but we're also a partner with them, so we just thought it would reflect well. So as we get into this, we'll do a quick overview about us, and then we'll get right into the presentation. So myself, Steve Antill, I'm the CRO of Foundation Software. I've been here for over 22 years. Very passionate about the industry on a personal level. I've been involved in over 1,200 system selections and implementations. So we've seen all sorts of things through the years on our end of companies successfully implementing technology and companies that have failed. And some of those thoughts and processes have evolved into our presentations as we talk about these things and as we see the trends evolving in the industries. And overall, our company is very involved with ASA, ABC, CFMA, NECA, I just mentioned, IEC, several CPA organizations, AICPA, and all the big shows, NECA, ConExpo, World of Concrete, we participate in. And then I'll hand that over to Paul here.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, Paul Wheaton here. I've been with McCormick Systems for about 17 years now. Definitely, I've been on the front line of the development of the software. I've been heavily involved in what the software is going to do, how it's going to help the industry, and where we are going in the future. Again, like Steve, we're very heavily involved in a lot of the associations out there for electrical, plumbing, mechanical, low voltage, to name a few. You got NECA, IEC, BICSI, PHCC, MCAA. I mean, several out there that we're very close with. So just staying on the front edge of the industry with technology, and hoping to keep you all up to date here today.
Good. And then real quick on our companies, I know a few of the attendees are clients of ours, and I think maybe a few of the attendees this afternoon are also possibly interested in our software. So here at Foundation, we've been doing this for 35 plus years. We're very open with how our business looks. We have about 5,300 companies that use our full construction accounting software, which has been a leading ERP in our industry for several decades. We have about 2,000 companies that we process their payroll. We have a payroll service called Payroll for Construction. And within our client base, probably much like the industry as a whole looks for commercial contractors, 70% of our clients are specialty trade subcontracts, about 30% are general contractors. And as mentioned here, we have a whole lot of electrical contracts as it relates to McCormick.
Yeah, and how that relates, I mean, McCormick, we have been the leader in the industry for over 40 years now in electrical estimating. About 20 years ago, we've gotten into the plumbing and mechanical. So currently, we're up to about 8,000 plus contractor clients out there. We handle mom and pop shops all the way up to multi-million-dollar corporations. So one of our big products that we're really known for is the Design Estimating Pros, and that's our digital takeoff and design build program that links directly with our estimating program. It's actually built into the estimating program to make it almost one big super program. So we're very excited about that, and moving forward, it's just been a hit in the industry. We've been with Foundation, and we're really excited to be with Foundation as part of their family since only May. So it's still new, and we're really excited moving forward. We've got great things happening behind the scenes.
Okay, so we'll take you through. Let's get into the presentation here. Enough about us. So let's talk about things that we can hopefully get you guys thinking about, get on your radar that may help improve your business and some of your technology flows. So what we're going to talk about today is a roadmap. And this presentation breaks down to 4 components. Be aware of the threats that are out there. Let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity. Let's talk about the new integrations that exist that are rapidly expanding throughout our industry. And then let's take a step back and kind of rehash this and get some thoughts in your head about what could be a good plan or the right plan for your business. So interesting enough, don't be a target. This is where I love to start this presentation. And when we started putting this presentation together, which we've done various forms of this over the last year, year and a half, and it keeps evolving as the technology evolves, this is just so perfect. Don't be a target, right? You got target, you got the logo, the target itself. So I think we've all heard of the Target data breach, and it's been a while now. It goes back to 2013. And in the big scheme of things, what we all heard about on the nightly news was 70 million customers' data was hit, 40 million individuals' credit cards and debit cards were hit, and this data breach cost Target over $1 billion. Right? That's the macro level. That's talking about what we see on the nightly news, how it affected all the consumers and all that. But we love construction technology. This is what we do for a living. And what most people never heard about this story is you don't want to be this guy. The Target data breach actually started through a roughly $15 million labor-intensive subcontractor in Pittsburgh. They were a subcontractor of Target, and basically, one day the owner of the company came to work in the Secret Service, FBI, basically, greeted him at the door and said, basically, your company is responsible for this data hack at Target. And why this resonates with us and also resonates with our customers is a lot of our customers are family-owned construction companies, and this guy built this nice family business, good contracting business, and overnight his life was flipped upside down. So these right here on the screen are some of the headlines related to, in some of the journals like Wall Street Journal, The Verge, Computer World, a little bit more detailed than what we see necessarily on the nightly news about this hack and how it started through an HVAC contractor because the hackers penetrated his network to get to Target. So, I like to scare people a little bit by starting here because we don't want any of our customers or the good folks in our industry to be this company. I can tell you many years later, the founder of that business is still involved in over 50 lawsuits. So, right, he's worked his whole life to build a great contracting business. It got basically ruined overnight, and still even 10 years later, he's still involved in over 50 lawsuits. So that's just more of a scare story to get this on your radar of how important the technology within your office is, not just the software applications, is to your business. And with that, I'll kick that over to Paul.
Yeah, so I mean, your thought is you're doing fine, right? Your company's doing fine, your technology's doing fine, your security's doing fine, but you should keep up. And how do you know if you're not doing great? What steps can you take? A little stat here, global IT spending on services, infrastructure, and software is expected to grow in 2022 with a forecast growth of 6.5% over 2021. Primarily, this is due to, enterprise software spending according to the latest forecast by Gartner. So I guess the question is that I'm asking, are you thinking the same way for your business? These scary stories that we're going to get into may push you in that direction. So, not only that, but tech itself can increase your productivity and save time and labor. So are you using it to its full potential? Do you know what else is out there? What can you do to make your life, better, make your processes easier, faster, smarter, etc.?
Okay. So I'm going to take over here and talk about Unearth SaaS, excavation and a change order here. And this is just one more story, but this shows you the rapid development of technology in our industry. And this story isn't going to be for everybody because it wouldn't apply to electrical or mechanical, but it's a good story about how technology has actually helped a contractor, and staying in front of these new products and all that can benefit your business. So Unearth is basically a program that can take aerial photos of job sites. And it's really geared towards heavy civil contractors that move earth around and dirt around and things like that. So there was a contractor that was a customer of Unearth that basically took a job with a city on basically a dam repair, and they wanted to get moving on this job. And the most recent surveys from the job site was from the late 1970s. And everybody was all gung-ho about getting this job going and whatnot. And they took the work, they got into the project, and the excavating contractors soon realized they were moving significantly more dirt than the original plan or the contract called for. So they basically had open communication with the government agency, the city, saying, hey, we're doing more of this. And the city's like, that's fine. Keep tabs on it. Let's get billed for a change order as we go along. And sure enough, they started billing for the change orders for moving all this earth around. And they came back and said, we're not paying you for this. We don't believe this is accurate. We believe you're only loading your trucks minimally or up to half and not moving as much dirt as you're saying. Well, this contractor went into this unearthed software that they just subscribed to a year earlier to take photos of their job sites. And they actually went through week by week, day by day, and showed up photos of all the earth being moved, loading into the trucks leaving the job site with full dirt getting moved. And basically, the city threw their hands up and said, all right, you're good. We got to pay you on this. So this helped this contractor avoid litigation with the city that could have gone on for, years potentially for them to get paid. And so these are some of the things that I don't think a lot of contractors have thought about in the past and are now starting to get hot on is, I think a lot of folks in our industry always thought, technology was a necessary evil, spending money on a construction accounting package, a high-end estimating package for their trade, these newer systems that, can take aerial photos of a job site. And I think we're starting to see a change where folks are starting to embrace this stuff a lot more as we go. And I'm going to skip the story here on True Value Homes just to keep this moving. But I've been in this industry, as I said at the beginning, for 22 years. And even with COVID, where, last year was a little funky, I think technology in construction tech in our space has evolved more probably in the last 36 months than in my prior 18 plus years of the industry. Things are going very quickly. There's a lot of great tech out there. There's a lot of products very specialized to different type contractors. And some of the beauties of those are not only are they good programs, they also have API tools to link into your accounting, your estimating, your project management system. And if we think through and start road mapping this stuff and getting these things tied out, these products can really help and benefit your business.
So invest in cybersecurity. So here's a great one. And I'm going to I'll jump back to this in a moment, but what I'm going to talk about is another example of a scary situation that someone like you, a smaller, regular sized business can run into. I mean, here's the deal. Just look at these stats right here before I tell you this next story. 43% of all cyber attack victims are small businesses. 60% of the small businesses that have been attacked will go out of business within 6 months. Very scary stuff. And I mean, if you look at that right there, the last point, data breaches can cost small companies up to 2.5 million on average. That's crazy. I mean, if you think about your annual revenue, what is 2.5 million going to do to you? So these stats are something you really should, take to heart. This is why you want to invest in some of these cybersecurity situations that we will talk about. But the last example that I want to talk about is this smaller contractor. This company, they're out of Oregon. Their name is Always Excavating. And basically what happened to them, they're just a 15-person contractor. That's all they are. And what happened was a foreign government actually attacked their network. And you ask yourself, why the heck would a foreign government attack this small 15-person contractor in Oregon? They're just a little guy. And not only are you asking that, the owner of this company asked, why the hell are these people attacking me? He was working with the Department of Homeland Security, trying to figure out what is happening. And the simple answer to that he received from DHS was, it's not you, it's who you know. And that's important to think about here. It's who you know. So yeah, why would a foreign government want any access to this small contractor? Well, they don't. They want to get access to who you know. And this small contractor actually worked with about 60 utility companies. So through this contractor, this foreign government was actually able to gain access and target about 60 utility companies. And how scary is that? I mean, to go a little bit further into these utility companies, one of the targeted utility companies was an energy company that had a small power plant that allows Fort Drum in western New York to operate. You know, even if its civilian power grid collapses. And what this grid actually held and you know, powered and secured ballistic missiles. So, I mean, the scary part of this is that through this small contractor and a small cyber attack that happened, the government had to get involved. Homeland Security had to get involved, and now it is a huge deal. So that's the question you have to ask. I mean, what am I doing to protect myself? Why should I care? You know, here's the deal. I've spoke to a lot of tech people out there. Sometimes, you know, the FBI won't even look at you or help you unless the amount of the data breach reaches millions and millions of dollars. So, you know, in the end, whatever happens to you, you could be left alone picking up all of these pieces by yourself. So this is why you need to be concerned with the security of your systems, with what's happening out there, and just keep a close eye on your security. So moving on to the next slide, we're going to talk about some other neat things that can help you with these secure transactions, with working with all of these different softwares. And what we want to try to do is we want to try to break out of our silos. So we want to get out of silos. And what are silos? Well, silos, you know, we're used to it, you know, estimating departments over here, project management's over there, you know, accounting's over here, on-site's, you know, on-site, and we're all trying to, you know, work in our little silo and not communicate. But today, and I've seen it more and more, we want that communication to happen. And this is where APIs and collaborative systems can actually help with this security that we're talking about, because it is a secure link between communication, between programs, and between departments, so that it's less of a chance of you being hacked and less of a chance of one of these major incidents happening to your company. So, you know, just talking about what is APIs, what are middleware? Well, an API, you know, the API acronym stands for Application Programming Interface. And basically what it is it's just an interface software between two programs. You know, for example, you know, maybe you have a software, and in that software, it has Google Maps already inside of it, right? So instead of that software having to build a whole mapping program and try to replicate what Google Maps has done, all they've done is built an API so that Google Maps now sits within their software. So it allows those softwares to work seamlessly together, almost like it's part of the software. So an API can be built between other softwares, like your estimating and your project management software. So this is a possibility. The other thing that is out there is middleware, and the middleware is a more robust solution. You know, basically middleware is the plumbing or the piping that ties two softwares together, almost making them one. You know, for example, McCormick's got a you know, estimating software, and you know, we've got a design estimating pro software. So the middleware between those softwares actually connects them together and makes them one complete software. So having these actual interfaces complete with your software processes, with your accounting, with everything that you guys own out there, will help in keeping everything secure, not only keeping you secure, but making you more productive out in the field. This being able to talk between, you know, departments makes your company a heck of a lot more productive. So we'll talk about that a little bit more here in a little bit, but you know, what's the importance of integration? Why does it matter for my business? Well, you know, again, middleware takes that language from one system to another. You know, if I'm a project manager and I'm out there in the field and I want to do a change order real quick. Well, now with these processes, I can do a change order. I can utilize the same data that my estimator uses, and I can easily price that change order up out in the field. So having that middleware allows me to quickly create a change order out in the field. And now that that change order is complete, where else can it go? Well, that middleware or that API can now send it to my accounting software, where we can now get, you know, process payment for it and manage man hours. I mean, there's so many directions that these things can head in that is very important to a contractor. So what I would suggest is going out and asking your software vendor what APIs or what middleware do they provide or do they have access to that could help your business. So very, very important in the integration processes out in the field.
Yeah, and I'm going to hop in here real quick, Paul, on that, because I see a few of our customers are on the webinar that I recognize by name. But you know, I think one of the things that we've learned over the last year, and as I was saying earlier, the technology's evolved very rapidly the last 3 years. You know, I think sometimes customers say to vendors like us, hey, do you have APIs? And we say, well, we do, or yeah, we do now. And we say, what do you want to connect? And they're like, well, I'm really not sure. I just think we want to connect all these systems. So there's a thought that, you know, there's a lot of good technology available now, and, you know, getting with your vendor and saying, hey, I've heard there's APIs, or I heard you have APIs. You know, what are your other customers doing? How are they tying your system to other things? And I'll give a couple examples, right? I think all of us in here have heard of Procore. They're doing extremely well, really great business, monster on the project management side. So they're a big moving force in our industry. One thing that's really great about those guys is, you know, they're very neutral. They want their customers to link Procore to many different systems. It helps with retention and customers being sticky, and it's good for the contractor. So, you know, so if you go to someone like us and say, hey, do you got a Procore connection tool? Yes. And then, you know, the thought is, well, what do other customers connect? We can go through and say, hey, we have some clients that they pull customers from our system into them. We have customers that move change orders from Procore into Foundation, so it automatically hits our job cost reporting in our system, where they're capturing or generating the change order out of that system, and vice versa. So, you know, not only just asking your vendors what they have available, but what they're seeing customers use, how far they go with this, the real training involved, and some of the things we'll talk about, and Paul was talking about the silos, but we'll continue on this road, is, you know, a lot of these folks are very disjointed. The accounting folks don't talk to the estimating folks. The operations people don't communicate the same language as accounting. So on top of having these tools, getting the teams out of those silos to work together to push data back and forth where appropriate is really key. And a lot of your vendors in the estimating, project management, ERP space now have a lot more exposure to doing this stuff with their customers than they did, you know, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, for sure. So, and I'm gonna let Paul take this up here on, you know, a good example here on collaboration here in the estimating side of things.
Right, and Steve, you brought up a great one. I mean, Procore is a great example, and the accounting software, right? So that's kind of leads back into the middleware. So hey, you know, Procore has got these cost codes that they use in their system, and the middleware between the Procore and your accounting program will actually help match up the cost codes and sync cost codes between two different systems, so that the right information from Procore will go into a program like Foundation quite easily. So that brings up a great example. Thank you for that one. But yeah, so, you know, talking about, again, collaboration. You know, collaboration is a big word these days, and this is getting out of your silo. This is making sure all of the departments are working together to create a better experience and you know, just process for your company. So, you know, talking about DEP or SaaS in the digital world, you know, estimators are talking to project managers through these programs, and project managers are talking back to estimators, you know, so a lot of information is flowing back and forth, and we want that to happen. You know, here's a digital takeoff program that I've got a picture up on the screen, you know, so what can happen with this digital takeoff program? Well, the estimator can do the design, you know, he can estimate it, do a design like you're viewing here. It looks like he's added fixtures, he's created some runs back to the panels. And with this design, this instantly can be brought up in the field by a project manager, by a foreman. He can see exactly how this project was designed and what product he needs to order, how he's going to install the fixtures, where he's going to put the panel. All of this was done, in real time using basically a SaaS product. And SaaS is software as a service. So what that means is that all of the detail, all of the program, all of the work was done in the cloud and by the estimator. And as soon as this estimator is complete and the job's been awarded, then everyone out in the field can collaborate on this same project, looking at the same information that the estimator has completed, and again, move forward with a more successful project by being able to directly, access that information and filter the information and work with the program instead of just using a set of paper plans out in the field, or a PDF out in the field. The project manager can now dissect the whole plan via the program, view certain aspects of it, filter out what they don't want to see, and do material ordering instantly off of the file. So again, this is where that collaboration comes into play with a SaaS program. And again, I've talked to a lot of contractors out there, and what's happening now is most contractors are pushing to go to a SaaS product. And that's the reason, is because of this collaboration. It's not your estimating software, for example, is not stuck at the office where no one else can use it, like I said, out in the field. So this moves the industry, and I kid you not, 95% of all the contractors that I'm dealing with today, they're all interested or have already moved over to a cloud solution. So most of the softwares out there are starting to offer this, and it's a very good way to move forward. So still talking about that basic contractor model, I kind of put this together here. This is what I'm seeing out in the field. This is a basic, software slash API slash middleware setup for a contractor. And basically, with an electrical or a plumbing contractor, they can have the supplier now push out the pricing, through middleware or through an API to what's called a pricing service. So now your supplier pricing is gone into a pricing service, which in turn connects to your estimating software. So your estimating software can now get direct pricing from your supplier through this chain. And what that means is, instant estimates. As soon as you throw in, I want to add a receptacle here, or I want to add a light fixture here, this is already priced and labored for you via the estimating software. So now, instant pricing, instant estimates. Once that bid has been won, it's sent to a project management software where now you can track your material, your labor. From there, it can be pushed into an accounting program, from accounting into payroll software or service. So this is the basic setup that I'm seeing out there, and I wanted to share that with you because this setup right here leads to collaboration. It leads to the breaking out of the silos. So again, a very important setup, and from there, I'm going to pass it on to Steve to kind of drill down into those APIs and what they mean.
Yeah, and as we talk about the modernization of these systems, the cloud, SaaS setup and all that, this is really good, right? So ProEst is an estimating system that we have a good relationship. They're not a big competitor to McCormick. They don't do electricals. They have a lot of general contractor clients and whatnot. So they've done a really good job. I love this screenshot. I think the one thing that is really happening fast is you're seeing more of this. So Procore or ProEst here has built some really nice API tools to different systems like Procore, Acumatica, Foundation, QuickBooks at a basic level, other accounting packages here. And one of the things that's really cool is if you buy ProEst and you say, hey, I'm a foundation software user, you can just literally in this control file or integrations tabs hit this on button. And basically what ProEst did is they got with us, Foundation, and we've developed an API so our systems know how to talk to each other behind the scenes. So they can push a budget very cleanly into us onto a job setup here. And again, I really like to show the screen just to show you how modern and how simple things are heading to. You know, so many of us have been doing this a while, you know, are used to, you know, these CSV exports, files, and then you got to clean them up a little bit and tweak them and then import them into your other system. And again, there's still going to be a lot of that for at least a few more years as things continue to evolve, but you're seeing more and more of a setup like this where these various vendors or tech vendors in our industry have created these great API tools, and you literally go in and turn it on, and behind the scenes, those hundreds of hours of work and mapping through API tools has already been developed for you. Now, there's obviously thought that has to go in here, like does, you know, ProEst do cost coding the same as Foundation and things like that, which we'll talk about here in a second. But again, the premise of this is look for these tools. More and more of these are becoming available with your current systems or new systems you'd be buying here. And then this is a good middleware example. This is our integration with Procore at a very basic level on a screen cap here. Paul was talking about it, you know, comparing apples and oranges and making them apples to apples. We've learned with our mutual clients that a lot of our folks have a certain cost code list that the accounting department's been using for a long time, and they really don't want to change that setup in the accounting system. And then the users in their company on the operation side have a completely different coding structure, you know, more relative to how they see the world. You know, in a perfect world, everyone would be doing the exact same thing, but that just isn't reality on a daily basis for companies. So as we talk about getting away from those silos and the technology helping you, this is a great example of the middleware where we develop a tool that says, hey, cost code 20 in Foundation called site work links or is married to cost code 2000 site work in Procore. So when you're passing things back and forth between cost code 20 in Foundation and cost code 2000 in Procore, they know we're now, you know, we took apples and oranges and now made them apples to apples here. So I really like to show this example because this is a classic example of getting one system that does things very different than the other system married up to each other. And we do this throughout a lot of things with Procore and some other folks as well, but this is a good example of a middleware piece that's bringing two separate systems together. So that's just a quick snapshot. And then I was talking about this as well with ProEst here, and we see this often with the estimating software. We found in our clients across all the different trades that use industry-specific packages, a lot of times the estimators estimate in great detail at the item level, like you see here in concrete, all these different items, and then in masonry, these different items and whatnot. But a lot of times when we're building a budget out, we want to compare estimated versus actual cost at a cost code level, and we'll just pretend in our system, cost code 1 is general requirements, 3 is concrete, 4 is masonry, 7 is thermal moisture protection. You know, these guys do a really good job of rolling this up. They take all the estimated costs of those items and roll it up to those categories. And that's what they will push through their API tool to us. So they're doing the conversion or the thinking behind the scenes for us to say, hey, the accounting system doesn't need, you know, 4,000 items estimated on the jobs. They want those rolled up by categories, which are phase codes, task codes, cost codes, classes, things like that. And they pull it together for us. And then when they push this data out through their API tool to us, it comes in very cleanly. And that way on the job reports, we can see estimated versus actual cost. So I know as I've done this presentation in person a few times, people are sometimes like, wow, yeah, we've never been able to connect our estimating to our ERP solution before. These are the tools you want to get on the phone with your vendor and ask about and say, hey, do you have a roll-up, a consolidation feature that takes my items and put them into summary categories that could match my ERP system and my project management system? So that way we can compare apples to apples when we're looking at costing reports and stuff like that. So again, this stuff is much more available now than it was 3, 4, 5 years ago. If you're not using this stuff, it's worth poking around with your vendor because this can lead to a lot of efficiencies and seeing good real-time data between office and field and operations, you know, consistently and in real time, basically. And then a couple other things that I wanted to talk about here before we wrap up the presentation or as we head towards the end here is, analytical tools for forecasting. I think a lot of us have heard of Power BI. It's gone from kind of nowhere 3-4 years ago to extremely popular right now. I think some of us who like Google, have heard of Google Data Studio, which is a free tool to use. These tools are readily available to all of us now. Something like a Tableau is very expensive, used at like a state level, like the state of Ohio uses Tableau reporting for COVID reporting, where they're piling data, across many hospitals, counties, jurisdictions, things like that. But I always say one of the things that I've learned doing this 20 years is sometimes the larger contractors, the $200-300 million guys out there, they were using Power BI 4 or 5 years ago. And we see that start trickling down all the way down to the 10, 15, $5 million contractors. And you don't have to be, have a programming degree to use these tools. A lot of them with some basic training, you can do some really nice stuff on. But why I'm bringing this up is what's really pushing reporting forward and helping you be competitive or stay ahead of your competitors is these tools are great and not just giving you data, but they can analyze it and understand what happened. They can see what's happening, and where they really benefit your business is they can help you understand or predict what is going to happen or help you with forecasting. And a lot of people, for example, on the accounting side, have really embraced a Power BI tool to really do some nice reporting on cash flow and projections, right? We know cash is king in our businesses. And, you may do jobs that are extremely profitable, work with certain customers that are very profitable, but sometimes you don't realize during the life cycle of the jobs, it takes a long time to get paid. And, certain jobs may be funding other jobs that are underwater cash flow. So these type of systems can build out reports that can look at behaviors within the type of jobs you're doing. If you do repeated work for specific customers over and over, they can give you predictive analysis of when you're going to get paid and things like that. So it can put you in a better position to forecast the future and make good judgments on jobs you should be bidding and starting up versus not being aggressive going after, because it just may sink your cash flow too much. So we see these tools getting more prevalent throughout our industry. We have clients that link these tools up to their ERP systems. We have other folks that use these tools for reporting out of their project management software and estimating softwares. So these are very, very popular tools that I'd encourage you guys to get with. I'm just going to skip this. I'm not going to play this video. But again, like this one, Tableau, I don't see a lot of $5-10 million contractors using this. I see big government agencies, large companies using it, but this thing is extremely powerful and robust. And the last thing we'll wrap up on the presentation is having the right plan in place. We've talked about a few different things here and jumped around a little bit. I always tell people, if you get, a couple takeaways or a few things to think about it, what's your strategic IT plan? Where are you headed? Are some of your core applications perpetual license or other ones SaaS? Do you guys as a business have a plan in place to migrate everything to a SaaS or cloud platform in the next few years? Are these conversations that are happening at a management level? Do you guys talk about cybersecurity? As we talked about earlier, you don't want to be that contractor that had the target data breach originate through you, basically. So those are the things to talk about. But, right, we're all in a people business, and it's always about having the right people first. Are we investing in the right people that can run these products we have, or optimize running the products that we've already owned for several years, and really get our bang for the buck out of them to help us grow our business, get better information, and ultimately become more profitable? So, working together as a team, getting rid of those silos, game planning, hey, if we do have Procore, if we have Foundation, why are we running those completely independent of each other? What API tools do those two companies have to connect them? And on top of that, what's the game plan to do it? Who's going to take the lead within our company? One of the things I always say as I do this presentation, and I've seen, right, we have this big generational shift in our businesses right now in the construction industry, where again, see more folks that are in leadership positions that grew up with computers and understood programs like Excel and really have been working on software since the beginning of their career here. So I think a lot more folks now just embrace technology as a whole. But as we talk about this investing in people, do you have a young project manager that, she may be a real go-getter, like she kills it running PM and all that, but you see her really attracted to technology within your company? Is this someone that you want to keep and put a long-term professional development plan in place where they obviously understand one part of your business. Could she help complement, getting your accounting software talking to the project management? So something when you hired her, you didn't have on your radar, but you see she's really growing in that area and could embrace it. It could really help your company. So I always tell people to take a step back, because we have a lot of talented people on staff usually that we're underutilizing. You have folks that you might be able to help roll out or implement some of these technologies without having to go outside your company and spend a lot of money. And again, these are cool things for people to get engaged with. Folks can get professional development and continue to grow their career. And again, that's good stuff for you as a contractor trying to retain people and talent right now, which is so critical as we keep moving forward. This is the other thing we see a lot. Technology you can trust. Having the right IT in place, understanding what's relevant to your company, having that IT strategy in place. Where do you think your core programs are going to live in the next 2 to 3 years? Are you working on a plan to migrate everything to the cloud? I'm sorry. And, do you even have the right softwares in place as it is, or do you need to look at, evaluate or reevaluate your stuff? And then obviously too, the right company supports you. You might have a great piece of software, but it requires a lot of technical support. Are you doing business with the right company that works for you? So those are things we didn't cover today, but just food for thought. I mentioned on-site versus SaaS, which is really license versus SaaS. Where's your business evolving to? Do you have a good roadmap in place where you're going to have a consistent setup for all your products? And then this is probably my favorite point on this slide here: cool tech versus useful tech. We see some of our clients that are very cutting edge that get enamored with some of these really aggressive, ahead of their time technologies. But is it really useful to your business? Is it so far ahead that it's really not in a position to really integrate with your other systems? Does it really drive your business forward, or is it just a cool little toy for a project manager in the field or for an owner? So those are things to talk about. How does it fit in with everything else you're doing? And you got to do what's right for your company. Invest in these technology tools when it makes sense. I could say last year there was a lot of us in the technology space in our industry. We all had very good years where a lot of other businesses got hit very hard for COVID. A lot of contractors that slowed up a little bit. It was a good time for them to catch their breath and invest in technology that they wanted to or needed to put in their business to move forward, that the prior few years they were too busy to do. So, is now a good time to invest in your company with technology, or to reevaluate what you have, or are you just going too hard? The last thing you want to do is buy something and only put half the energy to implementing it to make it successful. So those are things to think about. And again, to wrap this up here, your roadmap, be aware, know what risks are out there. I told you a couple scary stories like the Target story. You don't want to be that guy. You've worked your life off. You've worked so hard to build your business up to be a beautiful family-owned construction company. You don't want to lose it because you were sloppy, by kind of turning a blind eye to the risks that are out there. Cybersecurity, spend the money on this. Make sure you have the right cyber insurance in place. Understand that this is just part of your business as you move forward. And we gave you some stats there on, the average breach costs a small business $2.5 million. Could you survive if something like that happened to your business? So again, I think a lot of folks think of this as a necessary evil in their business. How do you turn this into a competitive advantage? Where, are you on top of this where you're comfortable, you're doing things ahead of your competition, and you're set up for success if something, someone were to attack your business? Then we talked about, this mass migration into these API tools. Get on the phone with your vendors, your current vendors, people you've had relationships for a long time. Poke around, see what they have available, see who they work nicely with. Find out, get some education on what their other customers are linking between the different softwares. I think that stuff is all really available in front of our face right now, more so now than it was in the last few years. And then last thing, the right plan. Do you have a strategic roadmap IT strategy in place as you move forward over the next 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? Do you talk about this at a management team? Are you guys ready for, almost the unexpected, because things are going to come up. Things are changing really quickly. So again, that's what we're hoping to get in front of you here, with this is, getting your roadmap in place and being able to have these conversations comfortably at a management level within your businesses. So that's what we have for you today. we want to thank everyone for your time. We wanted to make sure we ran about 45 minutes, and then I think we hammered it here today. And if you have any questions, feel free to go ahead and throw them in here. And if we can't answer them today, we'll follow up with you via phone call or email or whatnot. But we want to thank everybody for attending today. And again, Steve at Foundation Software and Paul at McCormick. And if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to our businesses. And even if you're not a customer and you just wanted a third-party opinion on something, you know, we'd be happy to talk with you guys. So we want to thank you for your time and let us know if there's anything we can do to help you. Thank you.